with the recent surge of immigrants coming into America, where they are getting places to live, cell phones, $7,000 checks. Black people are wondering, hey man, now wait a minute. You deny us everything. You even got to the point where you're denying some black people food stamps, let alone a check and $7,000 a month. That's why this talk of reparations has been popping up again. And when I think about the reparations and stuff, and you think about the 40 acres and a mule, I did my due diligence to find out about the 40 acres and a mule and how this even the subject even came up. On January 12th, in the midst of the Civil War, General William T. Sherman and U.S. Secretary of War Edwin M. Stanton met with 20 black leaders in Savannah, Georgia. 4 days later, General Sherman issued Special Field Order Number 15, stating that black people will receive an army mule and not more than 40 acres on coastal plains of South Carolina and Georgia. By June, roughly 40,000 blacks had settled on 400,000 acres of land before Confederate landowners, aided by the new Johnson administration, started taking back their land. It's funny how these people come up with the term Indian giver. You give it to people, and then somehow or another, you take it back. Now this meeting that Sherman had with these 20 black clergymen, what was said in this meeting to even make them want to say, okay, we're going to give you guys 40 acres and a mule? I have the newspaper's account of what was said in this meeting between the black religious leaders and the Union military authorities, not the president, but the military, which will have a big reason why they did what they did. And it says the minutes of an interview between the colored ministers and church officers at Savannah with the Secretary of War and Major General Sherman, headquarters of Major General Sherman, city of Savannah, Georgia, January 12th, 1865. On the evening of Thursday, the 12th day of January, 1865, the following persons of African descent met by appointment to hold an interview with Edwin M. Stanton, Secretary of War, and Major General Sherman, to have a conference upon matters relating to the freedom of the state of Georgia. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the names of the 20 black ministers that were there at that meeting. I'm only going to kind of like focus on the one that was doing all the talking. And I noticed that, you know, he kind of speaks like ministers of today, but then again, he doesn't speak like ministers of today. But the man's name is Garrison Frazier. And at that time, his age was 67. He was born in Granville County, North Carolina. He was a slave until 8 years ago, which meant that would make him 59. When he bought himself and his wife, he bought their freedom, paying $1,000 in gold and silver. So Mr. Frazier was the one that did all the talking. I guess he was probably off in the mining or something because he paid him. He paid his freedom with gold and silver. Where was he going to get that unless he was a miner, mining? But this is what he said during his interviews. First, they asked him, state what your understanding is in regard to the acts of Congress and President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, touching the condition of the colored people in the rebel states. And Mr. Fraser answered, so far as I understand, President Lincoln's proclamation to the rebellious states, it is that if they would lay down their arms and submit to the laws of the United States before the 1st of January, 1863, all should be well. But if they did not, then all the slaves in the rebel states should be free henceforth and forever. That is what I understood. For a man that came out of slavery and is supposed to be dumb and ignorant, Mr. Fraser seems to be a well-spoken man. Then they asked him, state what you understand by slavery and the freedom that was to be given by the President's proclamation. Mr. Fraser answered, slavery is receiving by irresistible power the work of another man, and not by his consent. The freedom, as I understand it, promised by the proclamation, is taking us from under the yoke of bondage and placing us where we could reap the fruit of our labor, take care of ourselves, and assist the government in maintaining our freedom. The third thing they asked Mr. Fraser was, state in what manner you think you can take care of yourselves, and how can you best assist the government in maintaining your freedom? Mr. Fraser answered, the way we can best take care of ourselves is to have land and turn it and till it by our own labor, that is, by the labor of the women and children and old men. And we can soon maintain ourselves and have something to spare. And to assist the government, the young men should enlist in the service of the government and serve in such manner as they may be wanted. The rebels told us that they piled them up and made batteries of them and sold them to Cuba. But we don't believe that. We want to be placed on land until we are able to buy it and make it our own. So basically what Mr. Fraser is saying is that, hey man, what we need is our own land, and let us work it without your help. And in return for that, we will join your army, because it is well known that the Union would not have won without the help of Black Americans. That's how they won the war. Now this is the part I like, especially coming from a minister, which you don't hear ministers today talking like. This is the fourth thing they asked him. State in what manner you would rather live, whether scattered among the whites or in colonies by yourselves. Mr. Fraser answered, I would prefer to live by ourselves, for there is prejudice against us in the South that would take years to get over. But I do not know that I can answer for my brethren. Mr. Lynch says he thinks they should be separated, but live together. All the other persons present, being questioned one by one, answered that they agree with Brother Fraser, is that we want to live by ourselves. So all this talk about being together and this kumbaya, where we can all live together as one people. The original people that separated that's not what they said. They said we want to live by ourselves because we know that there's prejudice. So in order for us to be safe, hey man, we just gonna live by ourselves. This is the fifth thing to ask them. I'm not gonna go through all of the things there, through the whole interview, but just the things I want to kind of make clear. But this is the fifth thing to ask them. Do you think that there is intelligence enough among the slaves of the South to maintain themselves under the government of the United States and the equal protection of its laws and maintain good and peaceable relations among yourselves and with your neighbors? And Mr. Fraser said, I think there is sufficient intelligence among us to do so. I mean, look how he's answered his questions. Surely this man is intelligent. This whole meeting is, to me, it's like what happens to black people even today. Well, certain people will come in and make promise to black people. We just need your help. And then in return, they take back whatever they gave to us and just treat us even worse. I guess we're being stupid. Because this meeting was basically the army coming to the black clergymen and saying, look, we need your help. We need your black boys to join our army so we can beat these Southerners, so y'all can be free. And the black men of the clergymen trying to work some type of deal. So, hey man, we want our own land, and we need work this land. So you give us each 40 acres and a mule. They said okay. Gave them the 40 acres and a mule. And I'm telling you, man, because it's hard to work land, especially 40 acres and one damn mule. It's going to take a lot of work. And that's why I said the children, men, women, even the old men, everybody got to pitch in to accomplish that. And then in return for that, black men joined their army to help them win. And while they're in the army, you're nothing more than a grave digger. Then when it all comes back, Lincoln gets killed. His vice president, Andrew Johnson, works with these southern landowners and takes back that 40 acres and the mules. We fall for the same thing every time. Promises, promises, promises. Right now you have black people that are speaking up about reparations. And they're pretending to want to conduct these studies, which I don't understand, these studies. But they're going to try to find a way to finesse the money back away from people by setting up programs that are destined to fail. Here is one that they did right after the 40 acres and mule deal. In 1866, the Southern Homestead Act. Ex-slaves were given 6 months to purchase land at a reasonable rate without competition from white Southerners and Northern investors. I mean, if you just come out of slavery, what money do you have? But owing to their destitution, few ex-slaves were able to take advantage of the program, quite obviously. The largest number that did were located in Florida, numbering little more than 3,000. The program failed. It was a program that was destined to fail. How you going to give an ex-slave 6 months to come up with some money to buy some land? That don't make no sense. Who going to give a job? Where is he going to get the money from? It was a plan that was destined to fail. And while they're talking about conducting these studies to come up with different ways to not give black people reparations, hey man, whatever plan they come up with is destined to fail. Unless they're saying that they're going to give the money straight up. I don't want to hear nothing else about no schools, no hospitals, black neighborhoods, and programs. That's money that's going to go right back to you. We want the money coming directly to us, like you did other people. When I looked up this reparations deal, I came upon a few people that individually got some form of reparation, restitution, whatever you may want to call it, dating back to 1773. Now, the thing about a lot of these stuff I find is that they really don't give a picture of the person, and you really don't know the race of these people. So I want to throw that in there as well. But I said like in 1773, it says the first case involving the rights of enslaved people in Essex County, Massachusetts, was tried in the Court of Common Pleas. Richard Greenleaf was charged with trespass for enslaving the plaintiff, Caesar Hendrick. He was found liable for 18 pounds in damages and costs. In 1781, Anthony, known as Tony, and Cuba had been enslaved by John Vasily until John fled for England. When the master's estate was confiscated, Tony petitioned the Massachusetts legislature seeking title to the plot of land on which he had been enslaved for over 40 years. They were evicted from the land, but the legislature awarded them an annual pension of 12 pounds from the sale of the estate. Well, they didn't get no land, but they got paid. In 1783, Belinda Sutton, also Arroyo, was born in modern-day Ghana in 1713 and sold into slavery as a child to Isaac Royal in Massachusetts. After 50 years of enslavement, she was made a freed woman when Royal fled to Nova Scotia. Sutton petitioned the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for a pension. In 1783, she was awarded a pension of 15 pounds, 12 shillings to be paid from the estate of Isaac Royal. This would happen to the black people who went up north. In 1863, over 4 days in July, mobs of white New Yorkers terrorized black people by roaming the streets from City Hall to Gramercy Park to past 40th Street, setting fire to buildings and killing people. The overall death is estimated to be between 100 and over 1,000 people. It says, after the riots, the white merchants of New York combined forces to raise money to care for the injured, repair the damaged property, and support the legal and employment needs of the community's black people. The shopkeepers raised over $40,000, which is equivalent to $825,000. This was in 2021. In 1853, Henrietta Wood was a free black woman living and laboring as a domestic worker in Cincinnati when she was lured across the Ohio River into the slave state of Kentucky by a white man. Now, how the hell was she lured across that river? Hey, man, Black people go want to be trusting folks, especially folks that you know don't like you. The white man, his name was Zebulon Ward. Ward sold her to slave traders who took her to Texas, where she remained enslaved through the Civil War. Wood eventually returned to Cincinnati and in 1870 sued Ward for $20,000 in damages and lost wages. In 1878, an all-white jury decided in Wood's favor, with Ward ordered to pay $2,005. Man, that's a long way from that damn $20,000, which is like approximately $68,000 in today's time. They say perhaps the largest sum ever awarded by a court in the United States in restitution for slavery. You know, one thing I noticed about these cases I've just read, it's just something about these writers. When they don't mention race, you know they're talking about somebody white. Because when they're talking about somebody black, they're going to specify that. If they're from Africa, they're going to specify that, even what part of Africa. So it seems as if the leaders of America have their feet firmly planted in the ground, saying that we shall not be moved. We're not going to give black people anything. We'll give it to Ukrainians. We'll give it to illegal immigrants, people that is going to come over and maybe kill us. We'd rather them have it than to give to these black Americans. Just enough with all the talk. I mean, we have proof that you have paid people for the wrongs that you have done to them in the past. Just go on giving the money. But when it comes to black Americans, you make every excuse and every reason not to give it. You want to conduct a study. We've already conducted studies. We've been going over this for hundreds of years. And after all those hundreds of years, you still want to come up with some type of study. You know, at this point, I just don't trust anything that these people have to say. Because whatever deal they try to come up with, they always have reneged on every deal. You know, the Native Americans say that the white man speaks with a forked tongue. They say one thing and do something else. And you have not proven these people wrong yet. You know, we have to stop falling for the same trick over and over. I mean, as I can maybe understand, this maybe like the third time. You have General Sherman calling a meeting amongst 20 influential black clergymen. Okay, we're going to give you guys this and that. Just talk to your people. Here come these black clergymen convincing people to do something that's, hey man, it just didn't work out. It sounded good, but it didn't work out. Here it is. Joe Biden is running for president. Knowing this man's history and how he actually and really feels about black people, you have black clergymen coming to the black community. We got to get Trump out of there. We got to get him out. Getting Trump out, what good did that do black people? We have to stop falling for that. These black clergymen, I mean, you might mean well, but you're living in a fake world on what ifs and maybes. Well, maybe they ain't lying this time. They said they was going to do it. So this time around, I noticed that, this is getting more traction so far as the talk of black people. Hey, man, we're just not voting Democrat. You guys have been lying to us all these years, and now we finally see the light. You just refuse to address the black family, the black Americans. You just refuse to address us. And so since it's like that, we just are not going to have nothing to do with it. And if Trump is the president, so be it. We have to deal with you. So we dealt with Trump too. We think that you are doing a worse job, so dealing with Trump again, I just don't see it's going to be that bad. His followers ain't going to be nothing for us to handle. They talk a lot of trash, but that's about it. But you people, you are undermining the black Americans. I mean, look how many immigrants you're allowing to the country every day. You're allowing illegal immigrants. Now, I might understand legally, but you're going to allow a person to come in illegally. You don't know the background of this person. If he's a killer, murderer, robber, and we find out that most of them are, because they tried to sneak in, so it's evident you got something to hide. Why would you allow that to happen to the country that you say that you love? America, United States, USA. You would rather see this country fall than to give black people reparations. Fall it shall.